That's batch work, which is basically a waiting factory.
This is Stepping Up Healthcare. Your host is Tack, and the mission is simple. Build your capability and curiosity to make healthcare better.
You ever notice that in healthcare, waiting is kind of the default state? Patients wait to be toileted, providers wait on results, nurses wait on orders, equipment wait in the hallway or wait to be repaired, supplies wait in the clean hold, specimens wait in tubes, even information and inboxes are stuck in a queue. Funny thing, waiting doesn't feel like a waste at first. It feels normal, ordinary, even expected. That can be a dangerous path to follow. Truly, waiting is the time when value is not happening. Nothing's moving, nothing's progressing. It's the blank space in between steps. If you crack open a textbook, waiting gets a very tidy definition. Waiting is any time when people, information, supplies, or equipment are not being used to create value. Great. Arguably very scholarly. But in real life, waiting is a little less cut and dry. And honestly, waiting is kind of the glitter of the 8 wastes. As soon as you make things more complicated, like processes with some of the 8 wastes baked into them already, it gets everywhere, just like glitter. It's not dramatic outside of a code where we might be waiting for supplies and the team to show up to support, which is minimal. Waiting is the quiet gap in between steps where nothing is happening except time passing. Now, I want to address something you might have been shouting at me through your phone about. Generally, for nurses' workflow, they aren't standing in front of a computer waiting for those orders to drop and then do the task. It's more of a check if the orders are in, nothing, let's go do med pass on a different patient. The nurse is doing work in between waiting on the orders. Great. The waiting isn't on the nurse. It's not their fault. It's on the information and processes. The information, the orders, are waiting to be activated, and the patient is waiting on the care.
Why does it matter?
Number 1, waiting breaks flow in a way that feels almost gravitational. It pulls everything downward, energy, momentum, morale. It can be a real time suck. Number 2, waiting hides problems in an intangible way. You feel exhausted by it, but you can't quite point to anything specifically in your workflow. Also, because it's intangible, it's easier to blame people for the delays and mistakes, rather than the process, which requires a little deeper thinking to get to the root. If only the provider would put in the orders in a timely fashion. No. We need to be asking ourselves what was getting in the way of the provider putting the orders in. Number 3, it's expensive. Not always in dollars, even though overtime, bottlenecks, and delays absolutely show up on spreadsheets, but expensive in a more human way. When people wait, they lose focus, they lose their rhythm, they lose their train of thought, and sometimes they lose trust in the system that's supposed to work for them. Number 4, they can be large amounts of time, a nurse waiting on discharge orders, an EVS technician waiting on a room to be freed up in order to start cleaning it. They can also be very small, a provider waiting for a chart to load. You get that little buffering animation, spinning, loading wheel for 2 seconds. Technically that's waiting, although microscopic in the day of a provider. And the whole day becomes a kind of stop-and-go traffic jam. You have traffic coming into work, traffic during work in your workflow, and then traffic going home. It's just too much traffic.
Let's talk about some real-world examples.
The obvious and most relatable to anyone is probably a patient waiting for an appointment time. We literally build spaces for waiting rooms. Another example is waiting for consults to be able to discharge a patient. The consults, definitely value add, but the waiting for them is the waste. The OR staff standing around because the next case is delayed by something upstream, whatever it might be, a consent form, waiting for labs, an issue transporting that patient from the floor, vendor tray that is cooling after being sterilized, whatever it might be, all forms of waiting. With these examples, it's easiest to blame a specific person for the delays. If only that sterile processing technician would get the trays on time. We blame people and not the process, when we should be doing the opposite, blaming the process, not specific people. Waiting often signals a coordination and/or a communication problem, not a work performance problem. Here's the interesting part. Waiting almost never lies alone. Like most of the 8 wastes, waiting is often fed from other wastes. It can be a real Joker and Harley Quinn situation where it's self-reinforcing chaos in a process. Some fan favorites might be extra processing. An example would be too many approvals before a step can start, aka we have too many inputs for one output. Another example might be defects, missing info or incorrect info that pauses the flow while we fact check and sleuth where the information is. Overproduction, too many things dumping into a step faster than it can handle it. Is the waiting the problem? Technically, yes, but really, waiting is almost a symptom of something more interesting. Okay, so let's talk briefly about something and have a tiny nerd moment here, but stick with me. I want to talk a little bit about batching and single-piece flow. Imagine you're assembling something simple, let's say peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You could make one sandwich at a time. Let's say it takes 10 seconds for each of these steps. 10 seconds for bread, 10 seconds to spread the peanut butter, 10 seconds to spread the jelly, and another 10 seconds for the other piece of bread. Boom, done. 40 seconds to complete a sandwich, and you've just arrived at Flavortown. And if we're doing 10 sandwiches, that's 40 seconds per sandwich, and 400 seconds to complete them all. Or you could line up all 10 slices of bread, spread peanut butter on all of them, spread jelly on all of them, and then the other piece of bread at the very end. Still takes 400 seconds to complete, but there's a catch. Same ingredients, same steps, but 2 totally different experiences. The first version, where we're doing one sandwich at a time, start to finish, that's single-piece flow. Every 40 seconds, a sandwich is completed. It's smooth, continuous, and nothing really sits around waiting its turn. The second version, that's batch work, which is basically a waiting factory. If we lay out all the bread first, and then the peanut butter, and so on and so forth, the first sandwich is actually waiting to be completed for 310 seconds. And now we've got sandwiches being pushed out every 10 seconds because we batched them together. That causes 2 problems. One, we've got that sandwich waiting that 310 seconds instead of 40 seconds. Now we've got a sandwich being pushed out every 10 seconds, and the next step in the process, whatever it might be, can it handle that sort of workload? Silly example, but hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. In healthcare, we unintentionally build a lot of these waiting factories. We draw labs on a bunch of patients and then send them all to the lab. Inputting discharge orders all at the same time is another example. Single-piece flow asks a very simple question. What if we helped each piece of work move forward right away instead of making it stand in line? It doesn't mean rushing. It just means moving work at the pace it's received, so that pauses, the waiting, don't pile up and start hijacking your day. That being said, not all things are cut and dry about what is better to have single-piece flow and batched. Typically, we are not going to put only one sample in the centrifuge in the lab. We're going to put multiple in. Typically, in sterile processing, we're not going to put only one tray in the sterilizer. We're going to wait for a handful to be assembled before we run the sterilizer. Ultimately, it isn't black and white situation. There's a lot of gray.
Homework time.
Much like the last 2 episodes, pick one process in your day and see if you can find where there's waiting. 2 guiding questions to reflect on, though. Number 1, who is being forced to wait? Is it you, a patient, an NA, a provider? Just some examples. And then number 2, what are they waiting for? Is it information, a decision, a resource, a room, a signature, whatever it might be? Don't solve it yet, but just recognize who is waiting and what are they waiting on. Waiting is more recognizable once you start paying attention to those 2 questions. That's all I've got for you today. Next episode is about non-utilized talent. I'm Tack. You're appreciated. Let's step up healthcare. Little bonus at the end of the episode here, a little factoid for you. As I was researching this episode, found out that the little spinning wheel on your computer that kind of shows that there's work in progress or that it's waiting, that thing is called a throbber. So you're welcome for the next time that comes up on your local bar trivia.